The sky burned orange as the war started without warning. Jake Walker was fixing the solar panel on his small desert tent when the ground shook like thunder. At first, he thought it was a sandstorm, but the next second, dark shapes flew across the sky. They were fast, sharp-looking alien ships, heading straight for the human outpost nearby. He grabbed his old rifle and binoculars, staring toward the smoke rising over the hills. That outpost was only 5 miles away. He had friends there. He had to go. Jake wasn't a soldier. He was just a scrapper collecting parts, selling junk, and surviving off the land after the last war ended. But this wasn't normal. This was something bigger. He jumped on his quad bike and sped through the dunes. When he reached the outpost, it was already too late. Fires burned in every direction, metal torn, walls crushed. Bodies in armor lay still in the sand, silent under the smoke. And then he heard a strange sound, like a low growl mixed with pain. Cautiously, Jake walked toward the wreckage. Behind a broken wall, he saw her. She wasn't human. She had long white and gray fur covering her arms and legs. Her face was half beast, half woman, sharp fangs, glowing yellow eyes, and wild silver hair tied in braids. She was tall, maybe 7 feet, with powerful arms and clawed hands. Her body was strong but trembling, and her leg was bleeding badly. Jake raised his weapon. "Don't move." She growled but didn't attack. Instead, she lifted a strange spear, dropped it, and fell to her knees. "I am not your enemy," she sighed, speaking in rough, broken English. "Please, don't leave me here." Jake didn't lower his weapon. "What are you?" "I fought against the ones who did this. I helped your people. But now, I am dying." Jake didn't believe her, but her eyes, they looked full of pain. Not just in her leg, but in her heart. She looked lost, alone, like a creature with nowhere else to go. He stared at her for a long moment, then reached into his pack and pulled out a med kit. "Let me see your wound." She blinked, surprised. "You will help me?" "I'll stop the bleeding, that's it. Don't think I trust you." He cleaned and wrapped her leg, noticing strange scars all over her body, old wounds, like she had been in many battles. When he finished, she stood slowly. Her body shook but stayed upright. Jake turned away. "You need to go. I don't want trouble. I live out there, far from all this. You'll survive." She didn't answer. That night, back at his tent deep in the desert, Jake was checking his supplies when he heard the chains clink, clink. He stepped outside and froze. The beastwoman was kneeling by his tent. Her wrists were chained to the support beam, thick alien cuffs around her fur-covered arms. Her yellow eyes met his. "I found you. I followed you. I will stay here now." Jake stepped back, shocked. "What are you doing?" She didn't flinch. "I swore a life debt. You saved me. Now I am yours. I will die if I leave." "That's insane. You're not a prisoner." "I don't want you here." She looked down, voice quiet. "You do not understand, my kind? Once we are saved, we give. Everything. Body, soul, honor. If I leave you now, I have no home, no purpose. I am nothing." Jake didn't know what to say. The desert wind blew around them. Her silver hair moved softly in the moonlight. He should have forced her to leave. But something deep inside told him this was only the beginning, and whatever had started out there in the sky was now standing right in front of his door. Jake didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the sound of her chains. She wasn't making noise. She just sat outside the tent, knees on the sand, staring at the moon like a statue. Quiet, still, waiting. By morning, the wind had covered half her legs in sand. Jake stepped out, rubbing his tired face. "You're still here?" She nodded slowly. "I told you, I do not lie, he sighed. What's your name? She blinked, then said something in a deep alien tone. It was hard to understand, like growls mixed with melody. He raised an eyebrow. I can't say that. She tilted her head. You may call me Zara. Fine, Zara, you're not my prisoner. I'm not your master. You don't owe me anything. Zara looked up at him, her eyes glowing in the sunlight. That is not your choice. It is mine. Jake stared at her. I don't want someone following me around. She said nothing. Her chain was wrapped around a metal bar. Somehow, she had locked it to herself. There was no key. He thought about cutting it. But something about her eyes stopped him. They didn't show fear. They showed peace, like she had made her decision, even if it meant dying right there. Jake walked off and started his work. The desert was full of old crash sites and broken machines. He searched through metal heaps, pulled out wires, tools, and anything he could trade. Zara followed him all day, dragging the chain behind her, silent. Watching. At one point, Jake shouted at her, You don't need to follow me everywhere. But she didn't answer. Just sat nearby, never turning her back, always guarding him. That night, while eating a small meal of dried meat and cooked roots, he noticed she hadn't touched the food he left for her. You're not eating. I do not eat your food, she said. My kind hunts. We need raw, Jake grumbled. Then go hunt something, she nodded. I will bring meat for both of us. She rose and vanished into the night. He thought she was gone for good, but just before dawn, she returned carrying a wild desert beast over her shoulders. Long teeth, 4 legs. Still warm. Jake stared. You killed that with your bare hands? I used my claws. She cooked part of it over a small fire, even though it seemed unnatural to her. When they ate together, Jake noticed something strange. She smiled. It was small, just a curve of her lips. But it made her look almost human. Almost soft. Days passed. Zara helped him work. She carried heavy parts, scared off desert creatures, and even fixed a water pipe when he couldn't. Her strength was unbelievable, but she never used it to harm. She never raised her voice. Jake began to trust her. But one night, everything changed. He woke to a loud sound, something large circling the tent. Zara was already up, her chain unwrapped, standing guard like a shadow. Her claws out, her body low. And ready. Jake grabbed his rifle. What is it? They followed me, she said. The ones who want me dead. He froze. Who are they? Zara didn't answer. Instead, she stepped forward into the dark desert, roaring so loud the air trembled. Jake looked through the scope. 5 figures stood at the edge of the dunes, tall, armored, alien, watching. Waiting. One of them raised a weapon. Another one howled. Jake's heart pounded. Zara looked back. They want me gone. I escaped them. They see you now. They see you as mine. So they want to hurt you too. Jake gripped his rifle tighter. Zara growled softly. Stay inside. I will protect this place. I will protect you. And then she charged into the darkness alone. Jake stood frozen in the doorway of his tent. He heard the sounds of growls, claws scraping metal, and something heavy slamming into the sand. Flashes of blue light lit up the desert as alien weapons fired. The screams were not human. Then it went quiet. For a moment, the world held its breath. Jake ran toward the hill where the fight had started. His rifle was ready, hands shaking, heart racing. He didn't know what he would find, but he feared the worst. At the top of the dune, he saw. Then 2 bodies lay still. The sand was dark with blood thick and black. Strange weapons were scattered everywhere. But it was the third shape that made his chest tighten. Zara was lying face down. Her back was torn. Her white fur was soaked in blood. No. Jake ran to her and dropped to his knees. Zara, can you hear me? Her fingers twitched. She turned her head just enough to see him. "I kept you safe." Jake tore open the medkit and began wrapping her wounds. She was breathing, but slowly. Her body was burned in places, cut in others. Her chain was snapped in half. "You're not dying," Jake said. "Not here, not like this." Zara grabbed his arm, claws gentle. "You stayed. I'm not leaving." That night, he didn't sleep. He cleaned her wounds. He gave her water drop by drop. He held her hand when the pain made her cry. Her strong body was broken, but her spirit was still there. And in those long hours, something changed inside Jake. She had fought to protect him, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. She had given everything for him. A beastwoman. From another world. A warrior with no home. A fighter who believed she was his, but he had never asked for this. When morning came, Zara opened her eyes again. Her voice was weak. "They will return, stronger." Jake nodded. "Then we get ready." Zara blinked. "You believe me now?" Jake sat beside her. "I've seen enough to believe anything." For the next few days, he built defenses around the tent. He placed motion sensors, hid weapons under sand, and created traps using old tech. Zara helped, though her body was healing slowly. Her kind healed fast, but the wounds from last night were deep. One evening, as the sun went down, Jake brought her a new chain, but this one was different. It wasn't made of metal. It was cloth, tied loosely like a scarf. He placed it beside her. "If you still want to stay, then use this. No more chains. No more cuffs." Zara looked at the soft cloth and smiled. "You understand now," Jake nodded. "You're not mine, but you're not alone either." That night, they sat together under the stars. Jake asked questions. Zara told him stories. She spoke of her people, once proud warriors who were betrayed by a powerful alien race. She was part of a royal guard. She had escaped their control, but now she was hunted. Jake listened quietly. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with pain and memory. "Do you want revenge?" he asked. Zara looked at the stars. "No, I want peace, but I cannot run forever." Jake put more wood on the fire. "Then we fight when they come. Together." Zara looked at him for a long time. "You are strange, human, but brave," he smiled. "You're strange too." For the first time, she laughed. It was rough, short, but real. In the quiet that followed, they sat close. The desert wind was soft at night. The sky was full of stars, but far away, beyond the dunes, lights flashed again. Something was coming, and this time, it would not be a small hunting group. It would be a full strike force. They had found her again, and they were bringing war. Jake woke to the sound of thunder, except there were no clouds. He ran outside and looked toward the far horizon. Distant dust clouds rose like waves, and deep humming filled the air. The enemy was coming, not just a few soldiers. This was a real army. Zara stood already, her wounds mostly healed. She held her spear and wore pieces of old armor Jake had fixed for her. She didn't look afraid. "They bring a hunting squad," she said. 4 ships, many fighters. Jake loaded his rifle and checked the traps. "What do they want this time?" "They want to erase me," Zara said. "And they want to punish you for helping me." Jake stared at the sand. "Well, too bad. I'm not giving you up." Zara looked at him. Her yellow eyes glowed in the morning light. "You have changed." Jake smiled, though his heart beat fast. "Maybe you changed me." By the afternoon, the enemy had arrived. 4 ships hovered over the desert, kicking up wind and sand. Tall warriors stepped out, creatures with sharp black armor and glowing red eyes. They marched with heavy guns and electric spears. Jake stayed hidden behind a rock wall, sniper rifle ready. Zara crouched beside him, her ears twitching, her claws out. She was quiet, calm, focused. The leader of the enemy walked forward and shouted in a strange language. Zara growled softly. He says if I return now, they will spare your life. Jake whispered, You believe that? She shook her head. Never. The leader raised a weapon and fired at their tent. It exploded in flames. Jake's heart burned as he watched his home vanish in fire, but he didn't hesitate. He pulled the trigger once, twice. 2 enemies dropped. Zara leaped over the rocks and roared. She charged like lightning, slashing through 2 soldiers before they could even raise their guns. Her spear moved like it had its own mind, fast, wild, deadly. Jake followed, firing from behind. The battle turned into chaos. Explosions rocked the desert. Smoke filled the air. Traps Jake had hidden in the sand exploded under enemy boots, throwing warriors off their feet. Zara moved through the dust like a storm, claws flashing, blood flying. But the enemy was strong, and they kept coming. Jake ran out of bullets. 1 soldier rushed him with a blade, but Zara appeared just in time, knocking the alien down with a roar. She grabbed the enemy's weapon and tossed it to Jake. Use this, she shouted. Jake had never fired alien tech before, but he pulled the trigger and a bolt of blue energy blasted the enemy back. Zara and Jake fought side by side, back to back. Every time he fell, she caught him. Every time she stumbled, he pulled her up. But the leader of the enemy still stood unharmed. He stepped forward, holding a long staff covered in glowing red symbols. Zara's eyes narrowed. That is a death staff. It drains life. Jake aimed, but the weapon didn't respond. Zara pushed Jake behind a rock. I must face him alone. No, Jake said. We fight together. She looked into his eyes. If I fall, you must run. Please, live. Jake grabbed her hand. If you fall, I fight until the end. Zara gave a small nod. Then she turned and walked toward the enemy leader. They circled each other, the sand blowing between them. The enemy raised his staff. Zara raised her spear. And then they charged. Jake watched helplessly as their weapons clashed in a blast of light. The desert shook with power. And then everything went silent. When the dust finally cleared, Jake saw them standing still in the middle of the desert. Zara's spear was broken in half. The enemy leader's staff sparked wildly. Part of it melted. Zara was bleeding from her shoulder. Her breathing was heavy. But she didn't step back. The enemy growled something in their language and swung the staff again. Zara dodged barely. The sand beneath them was scorched and broken. Jake watched, helpless, behind a rock. He wanted to run in, but he knew this fight was different. This wasn't just a battle. This was a test of honor, of who would fall and who would remain. The leader struck again, fast and powerful. But Zara caught the staff with her bare hands. With a fierce growl, she pulled the enemy close and slammed her forehead into his. The alien stumbled, dazed. That's when Zara moved. She twisted, grabbed the broken half of her spear, and stabbed it deep into the weak spot of his armor, right between the chest plates. The enemy let out a choking sound. He fell to his knees, and then collapsed. Zara stood over him, panting. Jake ran to her. You did it! But Zara didn't speak. Her body shook. Her knees gave out, and she collapsed into his arms. Zara! He shouted. She opened her eyes slowly. I am tired. Jake checked her wounds. There was too much blood. He held her close, his voice shaking. Don't you dare die. Don't. You saved me again. That means I owe you now. Zara gave a weak smile. Then, chain yourself to me. Jake let out a shaky laugh. Fine, deal. He pulled her back to the remains of the tent, now just metal and cloth blown by wind. He laid her down, wrapped her wounds again, and gave her water. The battle was over. The desert was silent. Jake looked at the bodies around them. The enemy squad was gone. But something still bothered him. This can't be the end, he said. Zara opened her eyes. No, they will send more. Jake frowned. Then we can't stay here. Zara nodded. We must leave. Go far. Where their signals cannot reach. Jake sighed. I don't even know where that is. She looked at him, her voice soft. My people once lived on a world of caves and forests. It is lost now, but maybe we can hide there. Jake looked out at the stars rising above the desert. Then we'll find it. He started gathering supplies. There wasn't much left. Their tent was gone, most of the food burned, weapons damaged. But they were alive. Zara stood slowly. Her movements were weak, but her spirit still strong. Jake helped her walk. As they moved across the dunes, away from the wreckage. She held on to him not because she was weak, but because she had chosen to. Jake knew he should have been scared. Alone, angry, but instead, he felt something strange. He felt proud. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about something bigger. About trust, about loyalty, about the strange bond between a human and an alien beastwoman who had once chained herself to his tent. He didn't know what waited in the next part of the desert, but whatever it was, they'd face it together. And this time, neither of them would run. They traveled across the desert for days. Jake and Zara moved through dry valleys, rocky cliffs, and endless sand. The sun was hot, the wind sharp, but they didn't stop. Not even once. Zara healed slowly. Her wounds were deep, but her strength returned more each day. Jake gave her all the clean water he had, shared every bite of food, and when she was too weak to walk, he helped carry her. They were no longer just survivors. They were partners. On the 7th night, they reached a hidden cave beneath an old canyon. Zara said her people once used these places to hide during the early days of war. The walls were smooth and cool, and a small spring ran through the center. Safe, quiet. Zara knelt by the water and touched it gently. This place still remembers. Jake looked around. It'll do. We can rest here. Maybe stay a while. Zara stood slowly and walked toward him. Her fur was clean now, her armor repaired with pieces Jake had carried. Her golden eyes glowed softly in the firelight. I never thought I'd survive this long, she said. And never with someone like you. Jake laughed. Yeah, I didn't expect to end up with a 7-foot alien warrior chained to my tent. Either. Zara smiled. Do you still see the chain? He looked at her carefully. No, he said. I don't. She stepped closer. In my culture, when someone saves your life, you belong to them. But you never treated me like property. You gave me a choice. Jake looked down. I didn't save you because I wanted anything. I just didn't want to see you die. She gently took his hand. Her claws had dulled. Her touch was warm. Then you are already more than what my people ever hoped for. You gave me something I never had. Freedom. Home. Jake looked into her eyes. And you gave me a reason to stop running. They sat beside each other as the fire crackled. Outside, the wind howled through the canyon, but it couldn't reach them here. For the first time in a long time, Jake didn't feel like a loner. And Zara didn't feel like a lost warrior. They were something new. A man and a beast woman. From different worlds, but bound by something stronger than any chain. Trust, respect, and something that might even grow into love. Jake leaned back. So what now? Zara looked at the stars through the cave ceiling. Now, we build. We protect. And when they come again, we will be ready. Together. Jake smiled. Then let's get started. The cave glowed softly as the fire burned low. And deep in the desert, under the night sky, the story of a human and his beast woman, once strangers, Now something more had only just begun.